Yeah guys, this is just a quick video here to let you know about the Eonon radio for the BMW X5 E53, which I installed and is a totally unsatisfactory solution. You really don't want anything to do with this. That's not to say that all Eonon products are bad, but in this particular case, it is not going to work for you. So stay away from this solution. So here's what we got. An E53 with navigation. I got the dashboard apart here, but you can see here is the information screen in the that shows things like consumption, average speed. There's some other information here, but more importantly, this is where you can reset. Yes, pathetic gas mileage. Thank you for reminding me. To reset, very simple, push the button a couple times and you're back to a reset condition. And you can review all of your information here on this screen, as well as stepping through it on the standard board computer information screen on your dashboard. This is 4.6, so that's why it has a different dash perhaps than you've seen on others. Anyway, the navigation setup, it's supposed to work well, at least that's what Eonon says, and based on my experience in an E46, I would say they can make a very effective solution, but it has to communicate on the CAN bus, and I don't believe that the Eonon radio can do that, or even does do it, and much to my chagrin, I stupidly ran all of the wiring to the back before I tested the unit. Anyway, this is the way the unit looks and works well in the car right now. Don't know what that was. And so let me get on with this. As I said, the wiring connects all the way from the head unit back to in the bottom of the rear compartment, below the spare tire, below the air suspension pump unit. There is a tuner, and that tuner is connected to the head unit via a long cable all the way to the front. I installed, as I mentioned, the cable that came with the Eonon unit. It's in here, and it goes down and under here and into this unit, and it's a very nice installation, but it totally does not work. And let me show you how or why. And here we are in the back with things taken apart according to the installation instructions. They actually aren't too bad. They tell you how to get in there. Not terribly accurate, but they do work. You can see the battery, the radio tuner, and the GPS tuner as they indicate in the picture here. You're not going to need the GPS tuner because you can't hook up your navigation. That's not a great loss. Certainly was anticipating that with an Android replacement. Just use Google Maps or your favorite map app. But what we do need to do is connect the cable from the radio, and the installation instructions are a little bit difficult, but you can work your way through it. They make no mention of what to do with the illumination wire here. I didn't hook it up to anything. I have no idea what to hook it up to. Maybe I'm supposed to connect it to the other wire marked Illum, but I don't know why they didn't say that in the instructions. Regardless, let's put this together. They're half correct. It talks about putting in the 1740 female plug into the radio adapter. Fine, no problem, we can do that. But then it also illustrates this plug being connected to the radio, which is incorrect. That plug is connected to the original antenna lead, and there's no mention of that in the instructions, so these instructions are confusing and incorrect. And on the next page is another illustration clarifying their incorrect instructions. However, it does end up connected with that pin into the original antenna lead, correct. No lead into the radio, that's great. This connector into the radio, that is correct. And the two connectors are joined here from the original harness to the new harness for the radio. Okay, that's connected. What are these connections for? For other options, I am assuming the DPS or the business CD or whatever it was that the other alternatives this cable may apply to. but I don't need any of these unless it's the illumination wire, but I'm not sure what good that's going to do to connect to a plug that goes nowhere. No help there. So we're all connected, then we run the cable all the way up front. My advice is don't do this before you actually test your radio, because if you're like me, not only is your radio going to be broken, but you're going to be terribly disappointed with the functionality that is not included. It took about a day to run that cable, well, several hours, because you end up taking out the passenger seat, and if you want to follow the original harness, and it's a very neat installation, but a very not neat radio solution. Anyway, and now we run the cable all the way to the front, which I've already done. Don't do this before you test your radio, because unless you are absolutely satisfied with your radio solution, you may not want this radio in your car, and I strongly suggest you to forget it. It does not, as I mentioned earlier, provide any of the ability to reset your consumption and mileage and other figures that are accessible through the normal factory navigation head. Anyway, let's get that cable up there and connect up the radio. Oh, it also says, please refer to page 11 through 25 for installation method of the Eonon head unit. Well, when you go to page 11, you end up with this, getting the Eonon head out, the security screws, and then connecting the Eonon head unit power plug, which doesn't look like this, but nonetheless we can do it. And then it talks about hooking up the factory radio plug. Well, you can't do that. The factory radio plug looks nothing like these illustrations. Perhaps that's a clue that we can't connect to the CAN bus or any of the other things, and that's why the board computer can't be accessed from the Eonon radio. But regardless, the instructions don't make that clear, and the instructions are wrong. All right, and these are the original connectors. Bear no resemblance to those pictured in the installation instructions. They are the only connectors for the navigation head, so unless you have adapters for these, they're not plugging into the Eonon unit. The actual cable, as you can see, is here and has these connectors, which do connect the antenna, and this single plug plugs into the back of the Eonon head unit, and that is it, folks. Nothing else. Okay, this is the Eonon head unit with these protective plastic covers still on. It looks very much like a BMW radio, which is excellent and is why I bought this unit, and I had confidence it would work just like the Eonon worked in my E46, but it does not. That's why I'm doing this whole video. The connections are very straightforward. There's an antenna connection up here in this corner, and on the other side the plug-in from the harness. So let me connect those and see what we got. Radio fits in nicely, no problems there. I think if you had a business CD head, you have to do some cutting. That would be horrible. I would advise strongly against that. Don't even think about it. So let me turn this on, because you're not going to be able to put your radio back in. This one I can put the radio back in. Let's see if we get anything. Okay, here it comes. And let me go ahead and push this on. Let's see if we get anything. Just thinking about it. There we go. And if we do radio, I don't know if that's, I think that's a tunable station here, but I get no sound. The radio had sound out of fader control set all front after I first installed it, and then the sound quit working completely. Fader control irrelevant. And that's when I went into the Eonon cycle of death, where you start to work with Eonon. They are ever so pleasant, but they are totally and exceptionally incapable of dealing with any problem you might have. All they will do is make you feel good about they want to help, but really they could care less. Honestly, do not get anywhere near this radio. it probably will be a very unsatisfactory solution. Remember, changing the information for consumption and for that matter, time. I'm not sure you can even set the time on this, but notice the consumption is all gone, not accessible, can't use this radio. It is totally unworkable solution. Stay away from Eonon. You may notice the little message down here about version unmatched. That's the result of trying to reset this using the instructions from Eonon Help. Totally useless, as I said. Even when I had the original installation in here, it did not work. The radio broke. It's broken, and I'm not interested in trying to solve their problem. And some of you might suggest that, well, the reason that you don't have any CAN bus is you're not connected via the sub harnesses that they include. Well, here's a sub harness. It's CAN bus connection for E39, E46, and E53, it says. Well, if that's the case, then where does it get connected? There's no place to connect this harness to the existing harnesses. Let's see what this one says. And this one is for, I am not sure, I think it was E46. Let's see. E46? Yeah, E46. This one says it's for an E53, but where do you connect it? All right, the Eonon cable disconnected. And you can tell it's that special cable. Very nicely made cable, very well done. Unfortunately, and even the engineering may be well done, but the instructions are so poor, and it is incomplete for an E53 with nav unit. There's no way that this is ever going to work satisfactorily. So we put the regular head unit back in, just set it in there, turned it on, works fine, radio works, and as you can hear, sound. I will stick with a nav unit that is dependable and I can change my data. I'm done with Eonon, and as I promised them, I would make a video showing that this is just a very poor solution for an E53 with nav. Thanks for watching. Oh, if anybody wants the unit, I can put it and have put it back together. By the time you see this, back in its box, it will be all original, and you can have it for nothing but the cost of shipping. If you want that cable, all right, I'm gonna charge you $150 for the cable, because that's like gonna be a real pain to get out of there. But I'll be happy to do that if you want this radio. Otherwise, if you just want it, you can have it for shipping. Thanks.